a beautiful or a wet Saturday morning off to attend this talk. My name is Anand Krishnan. I'm an architect in private practice and a member of the Council of Badan Warisan Malaysia. So I'll be the moderator for this talk. On behalf of Badan, I'd like to welcome all of you to this, I feel, a really lovely talk. 30 years on, remembering Sri Mubin Sheppard by Dr. Zuraini Muhammad Ali. Now, just a few words about Sri Mubin Sheppard. He was instrumental in the formation of Badan Warisan Malaysia. So, and he's one of the doyens of heritage conservation in Malaysia. When we talk about heritage conservation in Malaysia, his name crops up. He's been like a figurehead in the whole movement about saving old buildings in Malaysia, which means our history, our built history. But I'm sure Dr. Zuraini will paint a fuller picture of the man. He's left us, but his legacy is still with us. Our speaker, Dr. Zuraini Muhammad Ali, is a senior lecturer at the University of Malaya, a member of the Royal Institution of Surveyors, and a member of the International Council of Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS. So ICOMOS is a international body of people working in heritage conservation. As a registered conservator, she has been involved in numerous conservation projects, including the restoration of Dewan Tunku Chancellor in University of Malaya, one of my favorite buildings. That was in 2001. She was also involved in the restoration of Taman Sejarah Kusta Negara in Sungai Buloh, another beautiful set of old buildings. Her dedication to research and consultancy in architectural conservation has earned her numerous awards. You know, she's very well known for all her work. And some of these awards include the National Heritage Award in 2004. Currently, she's involved in the preparation of the conservation management plan for Masjid Jamek, which is at the heart of Kuala Lumpur. That's where everything happens, you know, and the Royal Gallery in Kuala Lumpur. Before we begin, some basic information for everyone. Please switch off your phones. If you need to make a call, please take it outside. Or you can put your phone to silent. And if you need to use the washroom, it's in the annex building outside. It's beautiful. It's been restored and really nice to use. And the talk will last for an hour or so, and after which we will have a question and answer session with the speaker. So if you have any questions, start thinking about it and wait for the mic. So even though it's a small hall, the acoustics are such that not everyone can hear everybody at any one time. And after the talk, there'll be some light refreshments. I'd like to also point out we've got a gift shop that I would encourage everyone to visit. It's beautiful and it's got lovely stuff there, well curated by Date. Sri, sorry. And we've also got all our staff here. If any of you who are not members of Badan Warisan, membership has its privileges, so please join and be part of the whole story of saving old buildings in Malaysia. So if you have that interest or the passion, please join us. We have lots of wonderful events that Vanessa and her team organizes all the time. So without further ado, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Zuraini.
Thank you, sir. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. I'm so nervous today, coming late with the rainy morning. Well, we are very delighted today that we are gathering here this morning in remembering a great man, Sri Mubin Sheppard. He passed away 30 years ago on the September 11, 1994. I know that I've never met him through his life, but I know that many of you have met him. So what I will do today, just to share a bit about my research on him, and then maybe later on we can have some of you to share more what we have with him, right? Okay. When I started my research 20 years ago, I do the research on architecture conservation in Malaysia. I found what few questions that I asked. When did it start? And then the reference that I have is Chen Rumfi and Ken Yang, who claim that architectural conservation started just in 1970s. So the question came to me saying that what happened before that? Does it just started in 1970s? And then is there anything or anybody or any projects that noted as initiator or contributor to this movement? And went to see and went to go to archive, looking at many references, and every time I did that, and every time that more that I look into this phenomena movement, we go back to this great man, Sri Mubin Sheppard. Okay, I met and interviewed many people at that time, including Datin with me, Jenkins, Datin Valerie Al-Bakri, Datuk Sharum Yo, Datuk Kasim Ali, and many more at that time that always referred and go back to his work of Sri Mubin Sheppard. So I'm looking at what are the issues and challenges at that time before the independence, what happens at that time, and then there are so many things happening during the time, the issues of related with architecture conservation, where there is very much no awareness or very less appreciation, and there is no specific legislation guidelines, and especially no dedication, organization or government agencies, lack of professionals. So many issues related to that kind of this phenomenon is being ignored at that time. So there are a lot of challenges happening at the time, and then I'm looking at, is there anybody or anyone that do things on these kind of challenges? So at that time, buildings were not unknown and forgotten. Many buildings are neglected. Conservation effort was very difficult and time-consuming. And then there is no specific guidelines established at that time. Okay, basically what I'm going to do today is just to, I know that this man has a lot of contribution, but I'm just going to focus on his work on the heritage building conservation in Malaysia. Most of my reference at that time, I started with reading his book, Taman Budiman. I think many of you have read the books, where he has his memoir on his work when he was a civil servant in Malaysia, right? I think from the front cover, just now the cover of the books. So basically, I'm looking at what he did since his contribution in 1950s until 1990s. So let us know and see who is this man that you are going to talk about. Oops, sorry. Okay, who is Sri Mubin Sheppard? He was formerly known as Mervyn Churchill Frank Sheppard. Everybody was wonder why they have that double F, so the double small F. I was even when I had my book printed and they corrected it and they said no, it's small FF. I think his father also have the same FF, and then his father was Reverend Canon James William Frank Sheppard, born 1866, passed away 1940. He was the rector Wetton Cairn, Vicar of Exeter, Lincolnshire, and later Canon and Breviary of Lincoln. I did this research when I went to Cambridge to get some more information about his family background. And his mother is Louisa Frances Rothwell, born in 1869 at Cabra Castle, Kingscourt, County Cavan, third daughter of Thomas Rothwell, a Deputy Lieutenant of Cantonmere Justice of Peace and of Rockfield. The mother of Louisa is Louisa Kathleen Highsmith Pratt. Sheppard's parents married on the 20th of January 1904, and then Sheppard was the eldest son of 3 sons. So he has a twin. His name is Francis Baden Frank, and a younger brother named Roman Thomas Rothwell. And that the younger one born in 1907. So Mubin Sheppard was born in Ireland on the 21st of June 1905. He was raised and educated in England. He graduated with BA in History from Cambridge University in 1926, just before he came to Malaya. Okay, so he arrived in Malaya in 26th of January 1928 to join Malaysian Civil Service, MCS. So he serves at various parts of the country. He started as the lowest rank in the service, the Civil Service Cadet, or what they call it at that time, Clifford Cadet. He started at Temerloh Pahang. Okay, and then that is where he loved and learned about the local peoples at that time. And then he also served Klang, Selangor, and I think he served twice in Kemaman, Terengganu. This is where he get to know more about Terengganu people. And the last one that he has is become the British advisor. It's the highest rank in British Malaya administration at the time in Seremban Negeri Sembilan. Okay, so that's it started 1928 until 1956 under the British Malaya administration. He married to Rosemary Sheppard, nee Oakley, in 1940 in Singapore. He has a daughter named Lavender. I was in search of Lavender because when I looked through his diary and see like Lavender's birthday, and he's only met her once a year when he went back to England at that time. So Lavender, because she married to somebody else, they was married, and they changed the the same name. And then but I managed to keep in touch with her through emails. When I researched, she gave a talk somewhere about her life, when he was in Malaysia, in Cameron Highland. She went to a kind of small boarding school in Cameron Highland, and then that's why I've never met her, but I keep in touch with her through email. So she was born in 1946. And then Mubin converted to Islam and changed his name to Mubin, which is pretty much near to his name, which mean in Malay means in English it means clear. It's a very good word. Even if you read in Quran, there are a lot of words say Mubin and see that said he chose the words Mubin as his name after he became Muslim. And then, but he kept continuing Malaysia at that time. It's based on his willingness to stay back. Most of the British officers at that time go back to England, but he voluntarily wanted to serve. And then he was asked, Tuan Abdul Rahman at that time, he said that, give me, and I want to serve Malaya and want to continue to become Malaysian. And he also became Malaysian citizens in 1957. So he continued serving in post-employment as the first job that he got was a keeper of public records. That's his important work that he did. But overseeing and looking at what we call it the National Museum. So there are some things that related, very important things. And he also established National Archive, 1957. At that time after independence. So after retirement, actively he engaged with non-governmental organization and volunteerism works. And then I'm going to elaborate later on details. And he passed away on September 11, 1994, at the age of 89. So next I'm going to look at basically what he did that related to architecture conservation that make him one of the founders. So before 1957, he involved a lot in establishment of non-governmental organizations. So he was one of the founders of Art Council, Federation of Malaya, so later known as National Art Gallery, and then it became National Visual Arts Gallery 2011. Okay, so is one of the founders of Art Council, and he also be part of Persatuan Sejarah Malaysia, the Malayan Historical Society, 1953, and now it's been known as Persatuan Sejarah Malaysia, PSM, right? Okay. So before that, when I looked through, he also initiated a restoration project of a very dilapidated palace in Negeri Sembilan. At that time, he was, as I said before, he was the British advisor during the time. So he had the initiative to get the permission from the Tuanku Abdul Rahman, the young Tuan of Negeri Sembilan at that time, to allow him to move the ruins and rebuild as a state museum. The first building, this building was moved from Kampung Ampang Tinggi Kuala Pilar to a lake garden in Seremban. Okay, it used to be there, but then they moved it to a new place. So it was happening in 1954. Okay, a lot of people at that time helped him, and then this museum was officiated by General Templar. Dia tak ada ni what we call it? Oh yeah, okay, sorry. So General template, this is the official ceremony to officiate the museum on the 20th of May 1954 when General Template come and visit. This is part of his farewell visit at that time, 1954. So Sheppard at that time gets the Public Work Department State Engineer, Mr. Spence, to help to do the measure drawing of the buildings, and then they managed to get it dismantled and rebuilt back at Lake Gardens in Seremban. After 1957, after the independence, because of his first job as the keeper of public record, so he was also involved in the design of the new museum building. There was an earlier design done by the public department, but Mubin rejected. He said that it doesn't reflect the national identity at that time. It was like say that the first design done by a public work department at that time pretty much reflected the station kereta api Kuala Lumpur, which is said that no, you don't want that. And he brings an architect named Mr. Ho Kok Ho from Singapore, but he's a Malaysian, was from Negeri Sembilan. And he said that he brought this man around the country. He went to visit a few places, in fact, to Kedah, Terengganu, and then he said that he wants something that to be reflected the nation. So this is the design that come out and was agreed by Tunku Abdul Rahman. And then, in fact, at this time, after Merdeka, Mubin also built his own house in Petaling Jaya. So that will be part of his inspirations to have a Malay house concept, and that's what reflected in this design of Museum Negara. So this Museum Negara was appreciated by the Agong at that time, Tuan Kusai Putra. And then that's the remark of Sheppard service and 34 years in civil service. So by having this building built in 1963 completed. Okay, so after retirement of Malaysian government and Malaysian government in 1964, so he pretty much worked together with Malaysian Historical Society, Persatuan Sejarah Malaysia, actively, and then worked with a lot of collaboration with Department of Museums. At that time, the director of museum was Dato Charvio, so that there was a lot of collaboration with the government departments. And then at that time, he tried to initiate to establish National Institute of History and National Trust with Alwi Jantan, but the idea was not supported at that time. The one is 1960s, but you will have to see that the same thing will happen when he established Badan Warisan. But this early idea was not supported in 1960s. And then, but he also involved in conservation efforts to save two buildings, which is the oldest timber house, Masjid Kampung Laut, Kelantan, and then the abandoned timber palace, Tengku Nik Temple Palace in Terengganu. So the idea at that time, a part of Malaysian Historical Society objective is also part to encourage preservation of objects, things like that. So that is a part of the early involvement of Malaysian Historical Society together to help to conserve buildings in Malaysia. So let's look at the first one. I think this is one of the iconic buildings that it served in 1968. Okay, This one is the buildings was photographed in 1948 by V.A. Grahams. So and later on, before restoration in 1966, this is the photo in 1966, the building had been abandoned and things. So what happened to the building at that time? The mosque. So that's the location of the mosque earlier, but because of the river, so it came and then the buildings was kind of like catching into the river because of the change of the river flow. So then in 1966, when the Bah Besar, that time, the big flood, 1960s happened, the parts of the mosque is being trapped and then catch into the river. So it was the initiative of Persatuan Sejarah Malaysia, the help of the work done by Mubin Sheppard. They would say that they wanted to restore. At that time, the government built a new mosque. They have a new mosque, and they say that they don't, there's no money to do it, and then it's been left like this. So, and I did the research. I managed to meet this man. He was 20 years old at that time. His name is Harun Hassan. Was the son of Masjid Siap. Okay. And this picture was taken by, this one, sorry. Taken by Cikgu Yusuf Saleh. And then the Persatuan Sejarah Malaysia funded the whole process of transferring this building, to restore this building into a new location. So Mubin was the person that in charge, because Harun told me Sheppard was used to sit, because I think his house was nearby. He was used to sit at the stairs, the tangga, and say that, jangan bagi rosak. The people that were going to dismantle the building, and then they managed to move it to a new place. And then the initial, because that's the location, and they moved it to Nilampuri, because it's completed in 1968. There was two options at that time, where to relocate, but after consideration and everything, and then Malaysian Historical Society with Mubin Sheppard used to move it to Nilampuri. So it's a place on the way to Kuala Kerai, near the Kampung Mulo. It was nearby the Islamic centers. It's in Kota Baru, the new place now. So the workers at that time, a lot of local carpenters and builders, will help him, led by Hussein bin Saleh and Haji Zuraini bin Awang Kecil. So he had, I don't have the pictures of the groups of carpenters. I do have in my books. So on these people will help him to do. He knows that because at that time only the local people know the best to redo back the estate. So but when they remove the buildings, they only move the main part because that's the only that way they have to manage. There is no minarets and other parts of the building. So later on in 1998, and the whole restoration was done by the government at the time to put back the minaret. And then this is photo taken in Nilampuri, 2010, when I went to visit the site. Okay. And then next, This is where he's saving and conserving the Tengku Nek Timber Palace, a year after 1969 to 70. This Tengku Nek Palace was known as Rumah Tele, Rumah Tiang 12. Okay, it was at the compound. This house was built in 1884 to 1895. This house, this is a complex. If you see, this is the whole complex. Okay, this is the new Mazia Palace. That's all the back. So this is the this is a complex of timber houses. Okay, this is the house that in Rumah Tele. That was the whole complex, this timber whole complex was built by Sultan Zainal Abidin III after the old timber palace was burned in 1882. So this all new timber palaces. It's a big houses, and this is how it looks. And it was connected with linking bridges. So at that time, the queen, the prince and the princess, the king and the queen, they don't go to the ground, they walk. So it became of big complex. Okay. And then when they decided to, this building was occupied by the royals until 1930s, but then left. And then when they built a new palace, Mazia Palace. Okay. And then, so they decided to let go or demolish the building, and then the Persatuan Sejarah Malaysia that time saying that it's good, and in fact Mubin was initiated to buy and then take this building and to build it somewhere else. So in 1968, they make a plea was organized in through newspaper to do donation, because at that time, because a year before that, the PMS, Persatuan Sejarah funded the Masjid Kampung Laut, but they didn't have that much money to do it. So Mubin was saying that, so why don't we do the collection through media? They have a plea to story done and in the newspaper, and then to get some people to fund. So they managed to get the Eastern Mining Metals Corporation, the EMMCO at that time, to fund the whole, they contribute about RM 10,000 ringgit at that time, to carry out the whole process of dismantling and move it to a new place. So Sheppard at that time, he himself supervised the process with the help of local carpenters at that time as well, led by Haji Wan Sulong and Wan Muda. So they dismantled the buildings and then they reassembled at a new place. This is where they had the Majlis Kesyukuran before this is where they raised the Yang Seri at that time. So was relocated to a new place at Padang Negara Terengganu in 1970s, completed at that time. So it became, but they managed only to have, the building is 3 parts, but they only managed to save these 2 parts. The kitchen parts was very bad, so they don't have enough money to do it, and they just take this one to do. So it was there at Padang Negara Terengganu. So we will see that how this building was then moved to other places later on. It was in 1984, the whole thing was moved to the compound of the Museum Terengganu, and Museum Terengganu had its new museum. Okay. And then this is what he did in 1970s. He presented a paper, traditional architecture in the peninsula, at the first National Congress. Maybe some of you will, maybe Prof. as you remember, the Congress Budaya Kebangsaan Pertama. That is where he highlighted the issues and values of traditional architecture heritage at the time. So he kept doing it in 1970s, campaigning and promotions. He did a lot of writings in Malaya, in journals, in articles. So he also served as the chief editor of Malaysian Historical Society. They have their own journals, and he's also become the editor of Jamras, Nation Journal of Malaysian Branch of Royal Asiatic Society, right, at that time. So he's been there quite some time until he's passed away. So in 1970s at that time, the new act came. Before that, the ACTA was the antiquity, the ordinance 1957. But then in 1976, there are new acts was passed, so that will give more power to the Department of Museum, and Department of Museum become Department of Museum and Antiquities in 1976. In 1980s, it's also keep going. And then the ultimate contribution, I think, at its time is his bring back the same ideas that he had in 1960s. He wants to establish NGO, non-governmental organization that supports the government. Say that it cannot be done from the government side; it must be done from the NGO, the publics. Persatuan Sejarah Malaysia, they more focus on the historical other parts. They say that it needs some organization that purposely, specifically to have on architecture heritage. So that's where he need bring the initiative. So that's where our heritage, Heritage of Malaysia Trust, Badan Warisan Malaysia, was established in 1982, 1923 at that time. So followed by Friends of Malaysia, Sahabat Warisan Malaysia, and 85, but later on it was merged together. So the idea is at that time is to create awareness among the publics. So because at that time there is very much less on that. Okay, so he also presented a paper. This was a paper. Oh, sorry, there's a typo. 1980. Missed that. So at this time he also, how he started at that time, he presented a paper. He called title Heritage Society and Urgent Need in Malaysia, in a seminar toward national identity in architecture, January 1981. This is before establishment of this Badan Warisan. I think Prof. Ezra must remember, like 1981. Okay, and then he gathered a few professional and individuals interested to do it in a house. This, I think, the house at that time belonged to Peter and Daphne Jenkins. He was not there, but there was a script that was, Mubin was not there at the time, but it was read by Peter during the first meeting. Because Daphne told me that he didn't come at the time, the first time that they do the thing, the meetings, and then Peter read the memo that on how it established the time. And later on, Badan Warisan was registered as a company limited company by guarantee, which did not have share capital. It was headed, the president was Harun Hashim, He was a judge at that time. The vice president was Haji Mubin. The honorary treasurer is Haji Mubin, and he himself, he loves to become the secretary. He don't want to say, he become the honorary secretary of Badan Warisan. At that time, the membership was limited up to only 50. Membership had to pay 25 ringgit for annual subscription at that time. Okay, that's how it started. This is I found I think the CJ lah, the certificate of the establishment. Okay, and then he became more active because of this new society. In 1983 and 94, before he passed away, he involved, and not only, but maybe he was already aging at the time, but he managed to encourage the youngsters who involved at that time, professional, to do more restoration work. So he promotes among the youngs, and then he also encouraged them to look at various types of heritage building, from traditional, colonial, and even in fact modern buildings. So a lot of more involvements in that. And then they also make sure that we have a lot of collaboration between the government and the non-government at the time. And it also motivates young generations to do conservation work. So this one is the Istana Tengkulong, which is restored and was done together with Raja Kamal Bahrain. And then this is another one that's done with Cimilin and Chan Wompi is the Gedung Raja Abdullah in Kelang. So let's see, this is where one of his last projects he did. He went to see the site with Chan Wompi and Cimilin. This is Gedung Raja Abdullah was very bad, dilapidated, two-story buildings built by Raja Abdullah Raja Jaafar. This is the first mining. The gedung is like storage for tin. Okay, and then they managed to get permissions to restore the building. But this building take a longer time, nine years. Only in 1991 they managed to restore, and then there's a visit by the late almarhum Sultan Salahuddin Abdul Aziz Shah Al-Haj during the officiation of the building. So let us, like, for me, I think we like to revisit some of his work back, to see whether, witness his work at the past. So first, this is, remember that the Istana Ampang Tinggi. So the Istana Ampang Tinggi was relocated to, the first time was relocated to the Lake Garden, but in 1983 it was moved to a complex Taman Seni Budaya because the Negeri Sembilan, they do have a new museum complex. So the building was moved to a new site again. This was not done by Mubin at the time, but it was done by the state government to move it. So if you go to this museum, the Negeri Sembilan Museum Complex, we still see the similar building, the one that we moved to Lake Garden, and then we moved to this. So we still can see, was still intact in a good condition. So and next, you should see this building. When we talk about the heritage, the Antiquity Act, Trove Ordinance 1957, when Mubin started become the keeper of public. When he became the director of museum, Department of Museum, the Antiquity Acts and Treasure Trove Ordinance 1957 was there, but it then replaced by the Antiquity Act 1976, and now it was replaced by a new National Heritage Act 2005. So it means that it's growing and it's become more specific. So in 2005, the Department of Museums and Antiquities splits into two, become Department of Museums and Department of National Heritage. So you see, after 30 years, you can see that it's growing and it become more specific. So, and then we still see this building still standing, even there is no new development of the LRT station in front. I'm trying to make sure that, get it, but it's still there, standing strong. And then this building was listed as National Heritage Building in 2015. Okay. Then we look at this another one. Sheppard loved Terengganu. She went to become the British advisor at Terengganu twice in Kemaman. And he always fond of the people of Terengganu. I think love Terengganu people. Yeah, Terengganu. And he also mentioned that orang Terengganu are good builders and craftsmen. He said that orang Terengganu tukang di laut dan tukang di darat. So he has orang Terengganu macam they have a lot of, they started build the boats, the ships and everything, but also goods in building houses. So he was said that tukang di laut dan tukang di darat. And then this is the one that we transferred. This is Tanah Tengkulong, and then this is Tanah Tengkunik, Rumah Tela. So both in 1986 and 87. Because they are all separate areas, they move it to a new. I think this building, this new museum complex at Bukit Lawsong, I think the designer was Dato Kamal Baring, and it kind of like reflecting some of this old traditional. This is one of the, I think the largest museum in Asia Tenggara, kan? If I'm not mistaken, yeah. So it's the law. I cannot take the whole pictures to take this one. When they have the whole complex, this has been a lot of trees surrounding the road, and they call it Terengganu Cultural Village. There are several other buildings other than this istana and this one in the compound of this big. It's kind of like an open air museum. They can see all the traditional with the boats and everything reflected the Terengganu architecture, land and sea at the time. This time, so you can visit. I think you can visit. It's still there. So then you can see his legacy. It didn't move, and then it's still there. And then Oh, sorry. I missed one more. I think I missed one slide on the Gedung Raja Abdullah. I missed it. This one. I don't know where. Okay, there is a Gedung Raja Abdullah, you see. Gedung Raja Abdullah is also still standing. The Gedung Raja Abdullah, this is not Gedung, this is Badan, but I missed one slide. Gedung Raja Abdullah is still standing. It was become a teen museum a few years back, 1983. But then now, I think it was under the Padat Museum Selangor. They're under restoration, and then because Museum Selangor have new museum, Shah Alam Museum, Sultan Shah Alam Shah Museum, it's Shah Alam. So they pretty much have all the materials back there. But then Gedung Raja Abdullah was empty, and then they are restoring it at the time. So, and then this is where we are now, Badan Warisan Malaysia. I'm not sure when we get this building. He was here. Huh? 1994. Okay, yes, yeah.
When Tun first became the president, we were still meeting in and what can only be described as a large cupboard in the Architects Association, which is the old worktop kitchen building in Jalan. And I think Tuna Mansaki thought this wasn't good enough. And in a very short time, we managed to get us this building. So you can't give the credit to Mubin for it. The credit is to Tuna Mansaki.
Okay, yes. So, but the idea is here is say that the Badan Warisan is still part of the list, and then now we have this, and we are here now. So then we're proud that, what he started in Sheppard River, that we already have this now. Okay, and then just to share with you the recent what happened to the Masjid Kampung Laut, and in 2020, the one that is in Nilam Puri, one that he transferred in Nilam Puri in 1980s after 50 years, about that one. So in 2020, the government decided to move this to a new place nearby, because we know that the original sites of Masjid Kampung Laut is already in the river. So they managed nearby area. It's a part of the, what we call it, Laman Warisan Seni Kampung Laut. So we're still going to see the building that's saved and that it's been restored back in this area. So it's blessing in disguise, and it's good for the people of Kampung Laut at this time to come to receive back basically the Masjid Kampung Laut, which has been transferred saved and then transferred to places and then come back to Kampung Laut. Okay. Well, in conclusion, I know there are so many contributions of Sheppard at the time, 1928 and 1994. He basically established several significant NGOs, the Art Council, the Status Sejarah, Badan Warisan, even Perkim, and he also founded specific institution. As I said, that empowering started with the museum department, empowering the Treasure Trove 1957 and BPS, but then he also, I think this is what he also established National Archives. There are a lot of information, a lot of things that good to be refined. We also have involved in establishing Malayan Film Unit at that time. I've read through his memoir to get a lot of things, but concentration of that. We also have initiated many, just now we have seen, conservation project, and then he also published many journals. He's very good writers and he collected most of the information. He wrote books, to Taman Indra, Malay Courtesy, Living Crafts of Malaysia. So he also wrote about the adventures of Hang Tuah, one small book, the history of Terengganu. He also write about Tunku. They got two books about Tunku Abdul Rahman. He also have the commentaries of Mak Yong, film made by Mak Yong. He even have a film script of the Bomo. I cannot understand the details of one film script. And then, as I said, he's also become editor of journals. Okay. So he also makes identified potential buildings of various types, traditional, colonial. Even he also asked people to get to know Stadium Merdeka, to also be part of the, even said that Malaysia is a new country, that whatever during the Merdeka time should become part of the historical. So he also said that he also managed to promote awareness among the professional field. He also inspired the younger generations at that time. So the young generation at the time, singers at that time, like when I met Whitney Jenkins, she was young at the time still. And Datuk Syarul Ayub was also young at that time, Datuk Kasim Ali. So I met these people. He also encouraged Halim Nasi. And then also encouraged even Dato Hisham and Datin Valerie Al-Bakri, is so good in conserving. There are long lists of people that he has inspired to continue and to proceed with this passions of conserving the heritage. Maybe later on we can listen once to everybody that met him and see that a lot of other things that he did, which I might not focus on now. And then, in fact, a few years back, I've received an email from somebody from France. He wants to write books or a paper on his contribution in the Malay language. And then that professor used to come to Malaya, and then he met Sri Mubin Sheppard at the time, and he said he wanted to write a contribution where it become a language that's studied in France. That he's called professor in Bahasa Melayu in France. Okay, so I met these few people. I met Khoo Kay Kim. I mentioned that to him. And Khoo Kay Kim said that a perfectionist. Now, when I say that, how do you find Haji Mubin Sheppard at the time? So he said that Professor Khoo Kay Kim said that he's a perfectionist, a committed man who gets things done. Okay. And then I remember that Datin with me, Jenkins, was saying to me that if you hear a call early in the morning, it must be him. He wants to get things done. He was like calling people. If you don't do things, they say, okay, I'll do it. And he just want to do that. So if we get instruction or things from him, we better do it. So that's his one. But he will like, if you don't do it, that okay, then he will proceed. He will not wait. He was that will not wait things. So he wants to get things done. And then Henry Gulick was also saying that his love and passion of Malaysian history, culture, craft and art had made him significant public spirited figures. So he meant that he is more eager than the Malay himself. It's the love of a passion of the culture. And then I managed to get email reflection from Lavender, and when she married, she became Lavender Backlund. Is that what to spell? Backlund, yes. So she said that my father developed a warm affection and administration for the Malay people, which lasted throughout his life. So he said that he don't want to go back to England. He wants to and when he passed away, he was buried at Ampang Cemetery. Jalan Ampang Cemetery. I went and visited. It's nearby Hisham Al-Bakri's cemetery at the time. So he said that he wants to. This is the land that I belong. It's land I've done, and I want to be here. So then he was buried here in Malaysia. Well, to the end, last but not least, for us at this time, the younger generations, we might not met him. I myself not met him, but we should thank him. Okay? He was born in 21st June 1905, September 11, 1994. But as the Malay proverb saying that harimau mati meninggalkan belang, manusia mati meninggalkan nama, right? So for me especially, Sheppard was the man who giving architecture heritage conservation in Malaysia a history, a worthy of its own. So he gone but not forgotten. So his legacy will continue inviting us to explore, learn and take pride of our heritage ensuring that the stories of our past continue to inspire and guide us into the future.